What up, bitches? Welcome back. This is 86.2. Where we're talking about should games be fun? The answer is yes. All right, so thanks for joining us for another week.
We'll see you next time.
No, but this is a serious question. I originally had been okay. So I bought a Nintendo Wii U, and we talked about it in the last section. And I just found myself thinking about games differently, as Nintendo weird games make you do. I was kind of what is it about these games that's fun? What is it about other games that's not fun? And if the game isn't fun, why do I play it? Why do I keep playing games that supposedly aren't fun?
Why am I smiling right now? What is this emotion I'm feeling? Is this joy?
Yeah, like when you said you played Telltale games, the Tales from the Borderland, and at one point you were literally smiling at the screen.
Mm.
Remember that?
Yeah. And it made me realize how long has it been since I've just been incredibly happy to be playing a game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what was the most fun games? I don't know. I just thought about it because I play a lot of games, obviously, right?
Sure.
I played Devil May Cry, and I started thinking about fun. I was like, this game is fucking fun. It's not what I would expect because it's kind of it's like, whoa, I'm so extreme, but then it's like making fun of itself. So then I was like, okay, relax on my criticizing of its broness. But then it just got more and more fun. And then I saw this article. I think I linked it to you from the guys who made Army 2. Did you ever play that game?
No, I did not.
Do you know anything about
it? Two people team up and they go off shooting. It's kind of like Gears of War.
Yeah, but it's super bro. It's these two guys who are like,
bro,
what up? Yeah. They're like, what up, bro? He's like, what up, bro? Give me some nuts. And they go, bam. And he's like, mask up. And they have masks that they put on. And they're wearing, it's a military shooter, but they just wear masks. There's no explanation. It's weird. not like military masks, like hockey masks or masks you would wear if you no, it's like hockey masks. That's what it is. And you can customize your masks, and it's the weirdest shit. And it's super jump over, high five, do a backflip over your bro's back, and he slides under you, and you bros hit fists. It's super fucking horrible. But I played it because it's a 2-player game, and I played it with a friend. It was a couch co-op game, and I was desperate for one. So I played it, and I haven't played the second one, but the aesthetic is horrible. And I remember playing the game, and I was like, this just isn't that fun. It's a little over the top. There's something wrong with it, something weird. So I was excited to see that their developer came out and he said, oh, we forgot to make it fun, which I thought was good. He was like sometimes developers, we get so lost, we forget to make it fun.
Well, especially these days, I have a lot of my games feel like homework now. A lot of my games, I'll either log in because there's some kind of daily thing that if I miss a day and don't log in, I won't get the progressively better prize. A lot of mobile games do this on phone. Final Fantasy Memory Keepers and Spider-Man Unlimited. I'm like, ooh, if I log in 10 days in a row, I get a rare Spider-Man. So I'm kind of logging in out of obligation, which isn't fun. Or I'll have games in my Steam library. I'm like, man, I really need to finish Assassin's Creed Unity because I bought it and I'm halfway through it, but I don't feel like I want to. It's just it's one of my tasks to do over the summer. So
yeah,
I'd say probably 90% of my games in my library right now are these games that I don't really have any urge to intrinsically play. No motivation to play, but I just want to play them because they're like a to-do list.
So why did you buy them in the first place?
So I thought they'd be super fun.
Are there games that you bought that you didn't even play? You didn't even start because you didn't think they were fun?
There must be, yeah. There must be some games I just saw on sale and thought I'd play later. The Force Unleashed I bought and I played for an hour, and then I was like, I'd already beaten this, I just didn't go back to it. Or Lego Star Wars. I was like, the Lego Star Wars is fun, and it was on sale. It was like $5, so I bought it, and then I played about halfway through the Phantom Menace, and I just kind of was like, I'm not really having fun though, am I? And then I just stopped.
Yeah, it's weird. Fun. Oh man. So I've got games like that too that I purchased. One is Dust: An Elysian Tale. It's this kind of fast-paced, kind of weird platforming RPG that's it was this kind of sleeper hit. And it's one of those indie games that did really well, and that could mean it could be anywhere, right? It could be okay, it's an indie game that did really well, but so is Fez, and I never beat that,
right?
Because it was fun at first, it's a nice exploration, but it's not that fun. Eventually it gets boring, or more importantly, there's other demands on my time, and so I'm like, I'll go do those other things. But Okay, so but what is fun anyway? Because like, let's say you're playing like one of the biggest questions. The very when I was much younger, you and I were playing this game, or you were playing this game, and you got me to play it, and I was like, this is not fun. But then I started playing it, and I was like, is it fun? And it's a Harvest Moon. It's a game where you essentially just
Farming,
you make a
doing
farm,
chores.
you make a fucking farm. Yeah, you do chores all day, and then you go to bed. Sometimes you fall asleep in the field doing chores.
Yeah. Sometimes you get
It's,
sick and you just stay in bed all day because you work
Yeah.
too hard.
Yeah, and then you're two, and there's little the side quests are like doing things that would be a life, like going to the bar or like hanging out with a girl or like going to a festival, and they like get in your way. You're like, oh, I guess I got to do that thing. It's weird. Or like The Sims. You play The Sims. Are you having fun? Like, is it fun? What is fun
Yeah.
in general?
Yeah.
Like,
It's really, I don't know, it's that ineffable thing where you're just smiling and saying, this is so good. This is so good. Like,
so it's some kind of pleasure.
like I keep going back to on my 3DS, I've got a lot of old Nintendo games that I just bought off the Virtual Console, and I'll have all these brand new AAA titles I should be playing. Like I should be playing Assassin's Creed, or I should be playing, any number of games that I've purchased that to get my money's worth. I feel like I should be playing them, and it's that don't shit on yourself thing, I know, but it's still like the mindset. I'm like, I want to get my money's worth, but I keep. Rather than finishing those games, I'll go back and play the original NES Zelda game again. I'm like, I'm going to beat this for the 4th time. Because I know every time I play Zelda, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to enjoy solving those puzzles again. I'm going to enjoy dodging the little Octorok rocks that they shoot across the screen.
Yeah.
And I know that at the end, I'm going to be smiling.
Yeah. It's even sometimes when you don't smile, like it's kind of like whenever you watch a funny show. Like I'll watch like Louis C.K. and I will laugh out loud sometimes, but the other times I'm not laughing out loud. I'm like, I kind of like laugh.
Like Mad Men, where I feel like I'm doing homework when I watch it, but I want to finish it. Like that's not a fun show to watch.
It's so funny. It's just like there are a lot of games that I play that like take Heroes of the Storm for example, or League of Legends. Like
there's another great example of a game that I log into, have a sense of duty because of daily quests. I'm like, oh, I don't want to fall behind on my dailies. I'm gonna log in and clock in at the old mine.
Yeah, or grinding in old school RPGs. Are you having fun? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm curious about that in general. Like, because then I started playing games. So I started playing Pikmin, right? Pikmin 3. There's a demo that I got on the Wii U, which if you guys haven't heard of Pikmin, it's a weird fucking game on Nintendo. Like, it's
narrow it down.
Yeah, good point. So it's a weird fucking game where you're a Martian that lands and you play with plants. Like, that should narrow it down. But it's weird. You're like this weird little Martian. You land on the like Earth, basically, except not Earth, or maybe it is Earth, and it's basically Earth, and it's tiny. So like you're like the size of maybe a dime, maybe smaller than that, and you can like order around these weird little plants called Pikmin, and you just move shit around. Like that's all you do, and the game's fun.
Things.
Yeah. It's the weirdest thing. So I'm playing this game, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty fucking fun. And pretty soon, I'm like, oh, I didn't want to put it down. I knew I was having fun. I didn't even know I was having fun until Amy was like, I was like, hey, can you help do some of the dish or some of the laundry? And I was like, I don't know, can I finish this level? I want to finish it. And then I was like, wait, am I having fun? I think I'm having fun here. It's just weird.
I think games that are fun, one of the ways they become fun are when they scratch that primal urge to just explore your surroundings without like pressure. Like so many games nowadays, like you're exploring because you want to find 100 doodads to get all the doodads achievement, or you're exploring because you're looking for a power up to help you beat a boss. Pikmin just lets you explore because, hey, what's behind that waterfall? Let's go check it out, guys. You just wander in there, and like you can get like they rate you on how much stuff you find and all that stuff, but I never feel pressured to do it like I do in other games.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost like a. This is a stretch, but there's a similarity between that and Skyrim, where like in Skyrim you may be going on a quest, but all of a sudden you're just like, that's a weird looking cave, and you just like walk towards it and you just go check it out, right? It's like what the original Zelda was pushing for, right?
Yeah, that's why I keep going back to it years later when I'm tired of exploring Paris.
Yeah, so there's a certain like curiosity that like falls into fun, I think. Like you have to come up to there has to be something that's intriguing, basically. It can't be something you've already figured out. It's got to be something that's mysterious. Yeah, and then, so there's like a whole psychology of this, right? Like as it turns out, like we've looked at what's fun and amusing. Like when we say we're having fun, there's a couple things. Like there's two ways to look at it. One was like when people say time flies when I'm having fun, you've heard that phrase before. As it turns out, it does. Like our time, instead of time dialysis, which is like what happens when, let's say I made you like tie and untie your shoes for 4 hours straight. It would feel like 8 hours or 10 days or whatever, right? Because it's boring, it's tedious, and our mind starts wandering, and we keep self-monitoring and checking ourselves, which helps check our internal clock kind of. Whereas when you're doing something fun, you'd never self-monitor. You're not going like what am I thinking right now, or what else could I be doing?
Lose track of time,
quote unquote. Yeah, which is actually a time compression effect. It literally happens. There's people who like study this because they were so excited about it, because they were like, wait, this has happened at work before. This could help all of humanity if we can figure out how to make an 8-hour day fly by. And as it turns out, you can. There's this thing called flow that basically you achieve, where that's what the Csikszentmihalyi, he's a researcher, that's what he calls it, but it's in the positive psychology field, and it's like, how do you get that? Like, what does it take? But that's an interesting part. But as it turns out, here's what happens in our brains, like when something fun happens, and I think this will shed a lot of light on it, or at least it'll put you in the same perspective that I'm taking from it. Is, first of all, the stimuli comes in, right, and then it goes straight to our hippocampus. And do you know like what goes on in the hippocampus?
Hippocampus, that's emotions.
That's the memory. Hippocampus is essentially memory.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it checks memory. Like, so something comes in. Let's say I'm playing a game and I'm playing like let's say Skyrim, because that's got a lot of exploration in it. Not a lot of people play Pikmin, but I bet a lot of people played Skyrim that are listening. Or even Zelda. You see this cave, or like in Skyrim, you see this, like you're walking along the road and you look over and you see this cave. There's a boulder there, and then there's like a chainmail set out in front, like someone have been murdered. When that comes in, it goes your kind of your switchboard basically fires it off to your hippocampus and says, is there a precedent for this? Do I know what to do here? Right? Is there do I have a memory here that I can use? And if that comes up negative, it actually fires off to the amygdala. The amygdala is the emotion center. So that's the part where it says, or it fires off dopamine, actually, to be particular. And if you fire off dopamine to the amygdala, that's your pleasure center. So it's actually rewarding for us to find situations that we haven't solved the puzzle in yet, right? And this makes sense for like rats and monkeys. It's primates.
Lots of mammals have the same wiring.
Yeah, it makes sense, because let's say you and I are two primates on the savannah, and we see a new tree. We've never seen it before. Well, there could be food up that tree. There could be a mate. There could be anything.
So those of us who are wired to explore for these sorts of things tend to have more reproductive success.
Yeah, and survival, because of the fact that, like, hey, I've got a new hidey hole here if I need to run away or whatever. Like, just exploring our environment is almost ubiquitously a good thing to do. And as it turns out, that's what we're wired for. It fires off as a pleasurable thing when we come up to something we've never experienced before. So I think to make fun, you're going to have novelty, which Nintendo really does well. Odd games, or like when Skyrim, it had done something that Elder Scrolls had done for a long time, but which is just, let the player do whatever he wants. Let him walk around, find something intriguing. GTA does this kind of thing. Open world in general is really popular.
Kind of goes back to our episode 1.
Yeah, open world versus linear, exactly. But it's weird that like a novel situation, and what's funny is it can't be like, okay, so like if you come up on something and this happened to me in Skyrim, actually. I use this example. This fucking sucked. I'm walking along the road, and there was a cave there. I was like, oh, it's this cave. Let's go and check it out. And I'm pretty much a badass at this point. I'm not like a in-game level, but I was pretty high. And I walk into this cave, and I see some people, and I fight them, and they're pretty tough. They're pretty tough to kill. One-on-one, there's these vampires. Pretty soon, it's a cabal, I guess. And I walk into this room. There's like 12 of them. They all come to me. They chase me across the fucking universe and just slaughter me and kill me and turn me into a vampire. And I was like, or gave me vampirism, and I was like, awesome. Like, it wasn't fun. It had the curiosity component, it had the exploration component, but it was not fun, and I got frustrated by that.
Killed the cat.
Killed the what? Curiosity.
Killed the cat. You were the cat.
I was the cat in this situation. But yeah, it has to be something like that you can beat, that you can do, right? Something it's rewarding because it was something new, something novel, and then you get rewarded for exploring it, but then you get rewarded again by solving it, right? That's also a pleasurable experience. So I think that's really like goes into game design in general. Like when you stretch it out, that's really be your plot curve, right? Like you want to you want to ride that kind of like new situation, new thing, kind of like Mega Man X. Like it's kind of a bad example, but adventure games like Devil May Cry did this really well. You get a new weapon, and it gives you enough time to explore all new situations with it, revisit all the old ones, and as soon as you've done that, you've finally reached the end of your novelty era, so the fun starts to drop off. Then it gives a new weapon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the Metroidvania genre of games are really good at that. This idea of like this weapon unlocks these new areas, and then about the time you get tired of using it, there's a new one.
Right. Yeah. And it's all maximizing the fact of like novelty. And then
see, that's like binary domain. That's another reason why I'm having trouble going back and finishing it. Is like I don't have any novelty. It's just walk, 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 shoot some robots, walk, 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 shoot some robots, and then sometimes I'll get like a new boss fight. But even those just tend to be run around and dodge missiles, and then shoot the weak point. There wasn't enough novelty in the boss fight. It's like, oh, now I'm fighting a gorilla, whatever. But most of them were just like running around from the giant thing, shooting missiles, and attacking the weak points.
Yeah, that's interesting because to me, like, so one way I describe that game is no fight is the same.
No, they all felt very samey, except for like a couple different ones.
Well, that explains why you don't find it fun. I wonder why we think so differently on that. That's weird. Like for me, it was every fight felt totally different, even though it's a hallway, but it's different. It's never like the same plant that you're hiding behind. It's like a little bit different. The robots are never exactly lined up the same.
Yeah, to me it was just like, all right, here's cover, and it's in slightly different formation. Here comes some robots, and rinse, repeat.
Yeah. So that makes sense that you didn't find it fun. Yeah, whereas me, like I was like, oh yeah, every situation is different. The story is kind of weird, but or it gets dry for me.
I found it occasionally fun, but not fun enough to overcome the plot and the story and everything else that I had a problem with.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I enjoyed it for the first 3 hours, and then the novelty wore off. But then again, I don't know why I keep going back to these games I've already beaten and having fun with them. If novelty is such a factor, like why am I going back and playing Earthbound and Final Fantasy VI and Zelda?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I get like Zelda. Actually, I don't. I get Zelda the first playthrough because like you go into a dungeon, you unlock like maybe a certain kind of arrow or like a boomerang, and then you get to explore your open world that you just did earlier, but you get to use the boomerang. So like you go to maybe a bridge you couldn't cross before, and you're like, I wonder if, and so you throw your boomerang, and you're like, oh yeah, it hit the rope and released the bridge. Now I got a whole new area to explore, which is highly rewarding. So I think like games that get that right is really what it's all about. Novelty in general. Like, oh man, sliding down the side of a dam in binary domain versus like hanging from the side of a building shooting, like versus like hallway fighting, which happened a lot. Yeah, I think that's the trick. And then just constantly having a new novel situation or the same situation as previous, but with a new novel weapon or a new novel like tool, basically.
Yeah, that's what BioShock Infinite did so well, is they would keep introducing new tonics and new powers just when you started getting used to the ones you had.
Yeah. It's really interesting. And it's funny that like every kind of fun is playing on the same gimmick essentially, which is our tendency to like explore a new environment or to like to solve a new puzzle. Like it's the whole point of us developing a huge brain is to figure this shit out. And but it's funny that it's rewarding, and that's the funny thing though. Like we don't interpret it as fun sometimes, but we keep doing it. Like I don't know. Here's the storm. Let's say I'm on a losing streak. I've lost like 3 games in a row, and I'm frustrated. Yeah. But I might continue playing it because it's going to unlock maybe a new hero or something. And that's something that's smart that MOBAs do, is they introduce new heroes at a regular basis, so that you've got a new character. Whether you're fighting against him with a certain composition, or you're fighting with him with a certain composition, or fighting with him against him with 2 different compositions, it's just a new puzzle to solve.
Right.
It's got just enough familiarity that it's not too complex to feel frustrating, but just enough where you're covering a small amount of new ground. Right.
Yeah. That's kind of how Monster Hunter does it too. Like you'll fight the same monster a few times, until you get the pieces you need to make the armor set you want. But right around the time you get sick of fighting that monster, like you've figured out his attack patterns, him, you've beaten him like 4 or 5 times, suddenly like a new quest, and you're like, I'm actually going to try a new monster now. I've got this brand new set of armor I just made. And so like the novelty keeps happening.
What's the best weapon in that game? I
have no idea. I've been using the hammer a lot lately because I like to stun them, give them headaches, make them dazed. But on number 3, I used the double blades a lot, like the 2 short swords. I got pretty good with those. So like
I got the lance.
it's a good game when you go online to find what the best weapon is, and you get like 12 different answers from 12 different people.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. But the Lance is just like it is in Terra. Like it's just if you hit the wrong button, you're running for days in one line, and you're just like, oh fuck. Like
Monster Hunter 4 has a missile launcher in Lance. It's basically like a shotgun built into a Lance, and so like you can use the Lance. You can hole up like in Terra, but also you can like use as a ranged weapon, just start shooting like big shells out of it. It's pretty fun.
What the hell?
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's completely ridiculous, but it's fun.
Oh, there you go. Like a novel weapon in a novel situation. Like Half-Life 2 had that with the gravity gun. It's really clever. Letting you use.
Valve's pretty good at novelty.
Yeah, the portal gun. Yeah, the portal has a lot of cool research about it. That it actually makes you smarter in the sense that it helps your visual spatial skills, which is measured on IQ. But it trains you to think differently about your environment, even in real life. So
and then every time you master your environment, it'll introduce like a new kind of like, oh, and this special thing is slippery, so friction's no longer a thing, or this is an adhesive thing. Like it'll throw new like environmental things at you, so you're always trying to like incorporate new variables into your spatial reasoning.
Yeah, that's cool. Without being frustrating by throwing you in a completely idiotic thing where you're like, well, it's just introduced like 5 new things, and what am I supposed to do here? And then you feel like you just feel lost. But but I don't know. Do you need to like? Let's say you're playing Brave Default, and you're kind of grinding at the end of the game. Are you having fun? And if you're not, why are you playing it? And if you don't know, is that a bad thing? Should games stray away from that?
I don't know. I'm a weird completionist. I want to get to level 99 and max out all my jobs before I finish the game, and would have gotten away with it too.
It wasn't for the stupid dog.
It wasn't for my darn friends and their borrowings.
Crazy dog. Yeah. Oh yeah, me. No. But I mean, like, were you having fun? Like, was it fun? Are you like, man, I love this game, and turn it off and you're just smiling?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not like that same like juiced up fun that I get when I'm playing Tales from the Borderlands, but there is something satisfying. I think there's difference between fun and satisfying, because I'll go back and replay Final Fantasy VI, and I'll get satisfied because I learned a new spell. Like it's not anything fun about it. I just got the appropriate number of ability points, and I got the new spell, and I'm like, yes, one step closer to knowing all the spells. Like there's some kind of I want to catch them all kind of mentality that maybe kids who grew up on Pokemon are going to have forever now, that I just get like a little bit of dopamine, not as much as like when I'm exploring or getting novelty, but enough to keep me interested in the game just from like accomplishing tasks.
Huh. It's almost like Avengers, right? Like watching Avengers or something, or like whatever film you really like, and watching like Pursuit of Happiness or something, or some movie that you had to think about, and like you just kind of sit there the whole time and think, and you finish. That would be satisfying, but it's not like I had a genuine good time. Avengers 2, I was laughing. I was like repeatedly, or like the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, hilarious.
Right? Yeah, like it's different. Like I'll do that, and then the next day I'm reading Cicero. Right? Like they're both pleasurable experiences to me, but they're different kinds. Like one of them is very immediately satisfying and fun, and the other one's more of a long-term like, yes. They're scratching different itches, I think. So I don't know if fun describes both of them, but they're both satisfying.
Yeah, there was a philosopher, maybe you can remember who this was, but he said he was a utilitarian. I think it was James Stuart Mill, and he said, Jax is not, oh man, he was comparing like a simple game where you drop the ball and you pick up the jacks underneath it, comparing that to chess. I think it was either chess or it was like classical music. But he was arguing that something qualitatively better about a complex game like chess, or a certain kind of music like classical music versus like maybe modern day like rap music or something, which gets a lot of criticism. And the idea was that, are they qualitatively different? Is there a certain utility that you get out of those that you, just because it's simpler, is it any worse? So I guess the same thing I'm wondering here is like, if it's not fun, is it a worse game, or should we criticize it and be like, oh, it's gimmicky, like Candy Crush? right? It's clearly operating on psychological principles, but everything is.
Yeah, so is Heroes of the Storm. So is Spider-Man Unlimited. Like half the games I play, the only reason I'm playing them is because of psychological principles have gotten me hooked.
Well, technically all of them, because it's psychology,
Right.
it's human behavior.
Right, yeah, everything is. But like the blatant ones, right? Like the Candy Crush, the Skinner boxes and stuff. Like not all the games I play do that, but the ones that do that, I'm aware of it happening, and I'm still hitting that little switch. My little rat paw is still hitting the switch.
Yeah, I mean, just so I guess I'm wondering qualitatively, the difference is what, that you're smiling. Like I'm trying to equate the two, and like it feels cheap sometimes when I play a game like Candy Crush because I'm like, oh come on, but then I'm like, well, I don't know. Plenty of people describe that as fun, and they may love it. Like they get a little, they get a certain like lineup, and they're like, oh yeah, and they laugh and smile, and I'm like, like I'm not afforded that same joy when I play.
I don't know. It's like that joy you play when you're playing 4-player Mario with your family versus on a 3-game losing streak with your wife on Heroes of the Storm. Like you're still playing with your loved ones. You're having a lot more fun doing one than the other, but you put way more hours into the one that's kind of brutal and not as fun. You know, it's like the same reason I watched all of Daredevil, like on Netflix. It's like an hour episode. Each episode's about an hour long, and they're pretty brutal and sometimes hard to watch. But I feel like that's time well spent, just like I feel like the Avengers 2 is time well spent. Like they're on the surface, they're both similar activities, but qualitatively, they feel a lot different when you're doing them.
Yeah, and I'm starting to wonder, like, this is one thing I was wondering, are they diametrically opposed? Are they mutually exclusive? Can you have both of them at once, or is it like one or the other? I'm trying to think of a game where I'm laughing and having a great time and also felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment at the end.
Yeah, I don't know, because Tales from the Borderlands, I didn't feel accomplished at the end. I just basically just watched an episode of TV. You know, like there's not that much challenge to it.
Well, like you play Splatoon, right? You're just having a great time, so that you feel overwhelming. You know, it's almost like if there are stakes involved, then it can be satisfying, but then that necessarily
makes it a little more stressful,
anxiety provoking. Yeah,
right.
Like I don't know. Like I feel like they're on two sides of the same coin, but I don't even know if one's less than the other. I don't know. I can't figure this one out.
I feel like some of the best games are the ones that blur the line. Like Mario 64 when that came out. Like that was just so fun. Like running around, exploring a 3-dimensional space for the first time, throwing Bob-omb King around. Like I remember the unbridled joy I had playing that game. But also it was very satisfying. It's a deeply satisfying game to beat. You get 120 stars. You know, you can maximize the joy on that. Like I think some games can have one foot in each camp, and those are the ones that go down as like legends.
Wait, yeah, like BioShock Infinite, right? It's really fun to play, or at least if you're a first-person shooter fan. You're flying around a real hook.
Satisfying.
Yeah, so it's really, but then they're two different elements. One's the gameplay element and the narrative element. Well, can they switch? Can you have a fun narrative with a serious gameplay mechanic? Yeah, you can, like Super Meat Boy, right? Or Battle Block Theater. Have you ever played that one?
No. I didn't find the narrative that compelling in Super Meat Boy, though. It was Save the Princess.
No, that's what I meant. Like the no, yeah, the narrative is not compelling. That's
okay.
Gameplay mechanics is
having great gameplay. Yeah, or like any old game, like older games, like Mario 64 or Star Fox. Like the story's pretty light, but the gameplay's so fun it makes up for it.
So between those two things, like I believe you can have them, but can you have it in the same element? Like, can you have a narrative that is both fun and, you know, and satisfying at the same time? Like it feels like you've accomplished something. I'm not sure. I can't think of any examples right now.
Like a narrative that's satisfying?
Well, yeah. So like either gameplay or mechanics. So we just used gameplay mechanics and kind of flip flop those. One is satisfying and one is fun, and the other one is, you know, and vice versa. But can within one element, can it be both? Can the gameplay be both whimsical and fun, and also satisfying, right? Like this
Mario 64 would be my answer to that. Like it's the gameplay itself is whimsical and fun, but also deeply satisfying.
Really? I guess I didn't really find it deeply satisfying. Did I? I mean, like, what point did you find it? What point was it that you're like, yeah, that's satisfying?
Let's say like you're searching for that last red coin and you finally find it and you're like, yes, I just got the 8 stars for this level. Like it scratched that kind of like there were 120 stars, we only need 60 to beat the game. Like it had like a lot of these, like it was scratching my like novelty thing, but also this like, oh my god, if I surf on this shell, I can go across the lava. That opens up a whole new world for me. Like there are a lot of really satisfying gameplay elements to that too. especially because it was the first time I'd ever been in like the 3-dimensional space. So it hit the
That's a
novelty
good point.
parts too.
It's kind of like well, what Sonic probably wanted to be, but failed. If you don't believe us, go listen to that franchise episode we did. But also a Devil May Cry. I think I've been trying to figure out why that game is so fun. So you've got these combos you can string together, right? You can do them plenty of different ways. That's what makes it fun. There's no like one right way that you're trying to do it correctly. Like in a MOBA, whenever you go to engage, there's a maximal way to do it, right? Like I'm going to use my E, then my W, then my Q on the largest group that I can find, or whatever, right? Whoever you're playing.
Whatever the best.
There's a correct play. Yeah, it's not like you could be like, oh, I don't know, Q, then W them, and then wait 5 seconds and E. It doesn't matter. They're all fun. In Devil May Cry, yeah, it doesn't matter. You can use one of 20 weapons and keep him juggled or keep the combo going, and they all look cool and fun. But it's also satisfying to pull it off because you get ratings as you go. Like it starts off with a D, you're fighting, it's like D, but as you start getting your combo higher, it's like, C, B, A, S, double S, triple S, and you're like, oh man, and you're having a good time. But it's also meaningful because you put a lot of time into those mechanics, thinking through the combo, how to keep them juggled or how to keep them doing whatever. Like, there's one where like the glass floor falls out beneath you, and you have to use your kind of a hook shot to like fly between these harpies and combo string, and then fly to the other one, and combo string, and if he dies, then you've just lost your platform, you can't hang on to him anymore. So then you got to find another one, and it's fun. You have these little angel wings you can fly forward on and try to hook to him. So once you die the first time, you start looking around, try to get those angels closer to you or the harpies closer to you, so you can. It's really like fun, but there's many ways to complete the goal, but they're all fun. They're all satisfying.
Yeah, it's like in Mario, like you get to the painting. There's like 8 different ones to 5 stars. You don't want to fit them all because they're all kind of different. Like you might be racing a balloon down a snow hill, or you might be like doing a treasure hunt for stars or coins, or like grabbing an eagle's tail. It's completely novel, and then right about the time the novelty wears off, you're in a new painting.
Wait, hold on. Your internet just went crazy. I think there's might be the storm or something.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Try again, like say something.
So I'm just talking about how the novelty of the paintings, like each world.
Okay, it's better. So you may want to pick up because it just went.
What was the last thing
I said I was flying through the angels or whatever, and then I couldn't hear anything you were saying.
Oh, so. I was just saying I think that's what Mario 64 does so well, is that each painting is a completely new environment, and then each way to approach getting stars is completely novel too. Like you might be sledding against a penguin 1 minute, and then swimming with an eel the next, and then looking for red coins, and then maybe you're climbing a pyramid. Like they're all completely random and weird and novel. And by the time you get done with that, by the time that painting starts to lose its novelty and starts to become old hat, now you're not in the desert anymore. Now you're in a world where everything's giant. And now you're in an underwater world, and now you're in an ice world. So like the stages are different enough, and the goals within the stages are different enough that you're always doing something new and interesting. But the skill required scratches that fun itch. It scratches that satisfaction itch because it's also a pretty skillful platformer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's certain like you can stumble into ways to find stars just by exploring or something, and like you don't have to get all the stars to complete it, just like in Galaxy and Galaxy 2 and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. The different themes, the different zones keeps it novel. So it's like this new thing that you can interact with. It's like, oh, now it's slippery, or fire. So like you said, a tortoiseshell can make me fly over it. It's like new things to discover in each zone. That's true. Huh. Yeah, I guess Mario 64 really got it right. Weird.
It's almost like Nintendo's good at making fun.
Yeah, I mean they are, and that's what's made it so like curious for me. I've been playing the weird, Nintendo Wii U games, and I'm normally like a more, I don't know, I like to play games that look
gamer.
Yeah, like they look hardcore, legit. I'm like, yeah,
lots of military shooters. Gray and Brown.
Yeah, I love Gray and Brown. Muted tone, give me a broner. But yeah, I love the game, and I find myself liking weird ass games. Like there's this one game where you put together. Have you ever played this? Like this one of these games that like you're in a diner and you have to like make the food that's coming across the orders. Like I fucking love those games.
Those Diner Dash games.
Yeah, there's this game that there's this article that came out that said games that make you better at things, and there was this game I guess for was it the Advance Game Boy I can't remember what it was for, but it was a Nintendo product. And it was a game where you play as the cuisine chef, right? And you get these orders, and you have to like literally chop the vegetables a certain way, like julienne, you know, the carrots, or like, you know, or chop them, and you had to make decisions like that and then throw them in. So it actually taught you how to cook while doing it. So it was like, dude, you can actually become a great cook by playing this game, you know, by adding extra garlic and doing all these different things. You could flavor up the dish. And I fucking love those type of games. This is way before I cooked, so I could not give a single fuck about cooking, and I loved it.
Huh.
So it was a novel situation where there's just enough challenge, and I could overcome this challenge in multiple ways. Yeah, because there's nothing more frustrating than
that. I was just saying, it's really hard to get that lightning in a bottle. Like, it's so hard to find something that's the perfect timing on novelty, where it's not so long you get bored with it, but not so short you never get to appreciate it, but also scratches the difficulty and satisfying itch where you're like, oh yeah, I feel like I accomplished something here. Like, I think it's so rare to be able to do that. It doesn't come naturally, that we get 90% of our games are just, they start to feel like chores because they aren't hitting that fun button.
No, that's a great point. Like, I'm thinking about D&D, like when you're DMing, right? Have you ever taken these principles into account? I feel like just these discussions are going to help us be better DMs. Because, like,
yeah,
developing a mechanic that is both, you know, meaningful, which is built into the system. You level, and when you level, you get new abilities.
And the leveling up is at increments where you start to like find new ones when you master your old ones.
Yeah, and then you can put together different combos. Like, you can make your warrior, you can make him like a really like movement oriented guy, or you can make him like a steel fortress, you know. And you can change those between levels. That lets you, like, you know, it has that one like kind of rubber feat that you can change. You know how you get to redo one feat between levels.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, that kind of rubber feet lets you kind of change the aspect of your fighter or your wizard or whatever, and it totally novelizes new situations. And if it becomes exponentially so, if your party members also did that, they changed the dynamic of their fighter or of their whatever cast or protector. Right. So maybe that's why I find the 4th edition so fun, even though I know a lot of people criticize it. It's just fucking awesome because of that fact. But I'm thinking about building worlds and, like, more importantly, like driving. When I'm designing encounters, now I'm starting to think about that a little differently.
Yeah, not just like another room full of kobolds and they're in a different formation now, but like adding new environmental elements, adding maybe a new trap or a pit or like a springboard that like launches you to a 3rd level, like adding a 3rd dimension to it, like keeping the fights similar enough to where you're not just, it's not just madness and chaos, so like you can learn from you know, like, oh, kobolds, we fought them before, but there's a new element of novelty. Like, now they're behind this cover and they've got like this giant slingshot that they're throwing things at you with, and we have to shut that down.
Yeah that would make a good episode, talking about the future of tabletop gaming. We started a new gaming website for any of those, anyone who happens to be not of a particular faith. One of our friends, JT, started an atheist gamers group, and
we brought in our expertise as a game community people to kind of help him manage the group,
help him develop his community. And I think if any of you want to be a part of that, you know, they're pretty professedly, you know, atheists. So, you know, if you're someone of faith, you may not want to, you know, join, or maybe you can. Who knows? I don't care.
Although
what you
so
do.
far, faith hasn't come up in any of the conversations. It's all been about gaming. I think it's just like-minded people.
But the only reason why I bring that up, is because there's going to be probably a tabletop group put together where we're going to be trying out one of these table sims. And so I'd love to talk about the future of gaming. Like, maybe we could try that out, talk about the future of gaming, and then also talk about how can tabletop gaming remain competitive in such this environment, you know, where all this is happening. That would be a cool next episode if you want to do that. So
yeah, once we get dip our feet in the water of this a little bit.
Yeah, that was a great analogy. Dip our feet in the glass jar.
Dip our feet in the glass water jar of Taste of the Rainbow.
Taste the Rainbow with gaming.
I'm just throwing out like candy slogans. My analogy's dead. It's just gone.
Yeah. If you're hungry, why wait? Taste the Rainbow. Dip your
Snickers.
fingers in it. Get your fingers off of my butter stickers.
Yeah, tricks are for kids.
Anyway, but yeah, so let us know what you think. I know that probably a lot of people have opinions on things like fun, and this is not something that I have technically figured out. I don't know anything about this, so I'd love to hear you guys' feedback. But speaking of that, perfect transition to the feedback section.
It's like a weird, high-pitched whining sound.
Vacuum. Yeah.
Okay. That's fun.
We gotta get the house perfectly clean before we leave, because there's someone coming to take care of our dogs, you know, every day. So it fucking sucks.
That's fun.
All right, welcome to the feedback section where we talk about our interactions with you, the community, the badasses, the game theorists, the podcast listeners, and interactors on the Facebook page and otherwise.
The few, the proud, the iTunes review people.
Yeah. So speaking of iTunes review, did we get any?
Yeah, we got one from the Hypocritics podcast.
Hey, I know those guys.
That's a great name for a podcast, by the way. Hypocritics. Like,
That's
they're
awesome.
hypocrites. They also criticize. I love it.
I would add more to it by saying the hungry hypocritics. That'd be perfect.
Yes.
And they say where you put balls in your mouth. That would be your tagline. So,
Mr.
there you go.
Bucket.
You're welcome.
Balls pop out of my mouth.
I'm Mr. Bucket. Bucket's so fun. Okay, I'm done. What are the hypocritics?
Anyone that grew up in the 90s just had a small smile of nostalgia. But yeah, the Hypocritics, they say required listening, 5 stars. This show makes my top 5 podcasts of all time list. I'd never considered combining intelligent and informative analysis with video games before, but it makes perfect sense. And spoiler alert, the show hosts managed this task expertly. I've learned an incredible amount. I've always been a bit of an ultra-crepidarian, but after listening to this show, I know what an ultra-crepidarian is. Subscribe if you love yourself. Plus 10 kudos from Carl of the Hypocritics podcast.
Oh, badass. What a huge comment. Top 5 all time. Jesus. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to know what the other 4 are, because he obviously has great taste.
Yeah. I've listened to him a couple times. I talked to him on Twitter a few times, just short interactions, but they seem like good guys. I listened to their podcast a few times. It's kind of a meandering fun thing.
Is it like do they criticize, is it like a film critics, or what do they do?
It's kind of just 5. I think it's 5 guys just sitting around with like an open mic, and they talk about different things like, and I'm not an expert. This is just the 3 or 4 I've listened to. And they just kind of bullshit. It's exactly what the 5 guys sitting around talking about gaming, but they talk about different topical things. I can't remember if they have a theme, but I usually just, the things I remember.
Those are the most fun. Like, it's just like hanging out with your friends and listening to what they talk about.
Yeah. So, check them out. See if you guys like them. They're good guys, or so far that I've interacted with.
Yeah, you can find them on iTunes and Stitcher. The Hypocritics podcast. They apparently have great taste, so that bodes well.
So check them out. They also have a Twitter where they talk quite a bit here and there, but I don't remember. You just Google it. The Hypocritics Twitter. So thanks for writing in, man. That's really cool, and what a great thing there. Oh, someone put a suggestion in on the Facebook page. Jeff said Chrono Trigger 1, not 2. I guess he's talking about Chrono Cross.
Yeah, Chrono Cross would be the number 2 he's talking about.
See, I heard that one didn't do so well, but that it had an excellent soundtrack. Did you play it?
Yeah, and that's exactly how I describe it. It wasn't like it was a little bit
probably
too
why
weird.
I heard it that way. You said it.
A little too weird for my taste, and I liked Earthbound, so that tells you something. But the soundtrack is amazing. The soundtrack, okay, my girlfriend in high school, do you remember Alicia? She played the violin, and what made me so excited about that was the idea of like doing piano. Hi.
Hey. What the heck? Okay, sorry guys. I don't know what happened there. I'll be editing that out hopefully.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a storm, so we should probably wrap it up. But yeah. Great game. Great soundtrack.
You're a hero in the middle of a storm. You're a hero of the storm.
I'm a hero of the storm. It's true. So yeah, keep sending suggestions for the Game Theory book /game /whatever club. So far we've had Chrono Trigger and also 12 Angry Men. The
12 Angry Men was the film, right?
Yeah.
Yep, which is a good idea. Also, Splatoon beta came up. People were talking about that. Then Mark had a question about mass punishment, which talked about at one point. He was asking if it encourages stronger teamwork. It most definitely does. I always advise against punishment because we know that it has many adverse effects on behavior, and more importantly, it dissolves the relationship between the reinforcement giver and the reinforcee. So, like, if you punish your child or you punish your troops, repeatedly, over time you stop giving a fuck about that colonel or that, usually a sergeant, right? You don't give a shit. If over time, 6 months later, if he's like, you're a shitbag, and he said you're a shitbag every day, you're like, whatever, and you just walk off. So then you have to increase the magnitude, and over time it just becomes destructive and stupid. So punishment in general is dumb, and it's counterproductive, but it is good in short bursts. But it also has an adverse effect on long-term anxiety.
So you're increasing unit cohesion, but at a high cost.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why basic training is only like 9 weeks or however long yours is. I think in the Air Force it's like 4 weeks or something. Whatever branch you're in, it's only so long because that can't work that long. It just doesn't. If it has to be repeatedly done.
Yeah. We had Dalton ask a question I thought was pretty interesting. If given the choice before everything goes to hell, where would you rather live, Rapture or Columbia?
Yeah, that's crazy. What do you think?
I chose Rapture because I kind of want to get spliced. Like, I think that'd be pretty sweet. I want to get some sweet splicing going on. Or I want to go to that crazy doctor and just let him be like, do what he wants. Like, give me a fucking second set of eyes in the back of my head, doc. Like, I want to be able to see people sneaking up on me.
Yeah. That's pretty hilarious. I probably pick, oh man, I don't know. They both have fear for me. I don't like being deep undersea. Deep sea stuff creeps me out.
Oh yeah, like squids are my biggest phobia. But you're afraid of heights, so
I'm afraid of heights.
You're fucked either way.
Fucked. Yeah. So I guess I would take heights because I have more of a chance if I can stand in the middle of the platforms. Like if the windows start crushing in Rapture, you're fucked. So I'd probably take Columbia. But then again, I mean they're both dystopias, so whatever. Like you're pretty much screwed. Yeah. Another guy posted something about this guy took his 50-inch monitor and he put a sky cam of Skyrim on there, and it made basically a battle map that he's playing D&D on, which is fucking cool. That's a great idea to take your monitor and put it down. One guy did that in our gaming group, but all he did was roll his dice on it. Remember?
Yeah.
We were like, "What are you doing with your monitor?"
They start checking Facebook, and we're like, "Dude, we can see you. Your monitor's huge, and it's in full view. Maybe
he's just
stop."
Yeah. Just packed away right next to him. I mean, geez, it's massive. We were in person, but yeah. Additionally, one more is the SWTOR is at a 12 times XP boost for class stories. It's back. So yeah, if you want to complete those storylines, which I definitely do, and I want to make time for, it's a good time to jump in. However, he did add a caveat that without a subscription base, it's pretty fucking shitty right now. So just be aware of that.
Yeah. I've played through most of those storylines. They're all really fun. Like, people who wanted a sequel to Knights of the Republic, that's what it is. Like, if you just pretend it's not an MMO and just play the story missions, you kind of feel like you're playing a Knights of the Republic sequel, especially if you're in the Jedi story.
Yeah, faux show. But other than that, that's most of our interactions, if not all of them. A couple people asked about when the podcast is going to be released. Those are private messages to me. I told them, sorry, I suck. But this one will be out on time. Hopefully, I am going to be running a ridiculous race and going to be hating life, but I'll try to squeeze it in between then, edit it, and finish it and send it out. So, thanks for any of your actions, guys. That's the whole point of the podcast, to hear from you. Let's have a conversation rather than just us going on this crazy diatribe about how much Halo sucks and how much people who examine vaginas don't understand video games.
Yes.
Manny.
They are ultra-crepidarians, a lot of them.
A lot of them. How dare they? So
keep sending your suggestions for book club and your emails. Send to the gametheorypodcast@gmail.com, where you can find us on facebook.com/groups/gametheorypodcast. Join the discussion there.
Absolutely. Also, you can tweet at us anytime. I'm pretty vigilant on there. This weekend is going to be a lack time. Other than that, I'm pretty much on there every day, every other day, at twitter.com/gametheorypod. Additionally, we have our other podcast, which is about religious matters. So if that's a sensitive subject, definitely don't join us there. But if you want to, we are not particularly religious. So if you're of the same mindset, you can pop over there and hang out with us there. It's the God Theory Podcast.
And please stop emailing us pictures of your dicks. We don't want to see them. Like, it's enough. Enough's enough.
Well, you can send it to me. Just don't send it to David. He's weird about it. But no. But yeah, so thanks for hanging out. And hopefully we'll come to you next week with some more badassery. So thanks for joining us. And go fuck yourselves. Wait, that is not a good sign off. I need to